Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the panel on financial technology. I'm most impressed to see all of you out for a 9 o'clock session. Well, actually, there's good reason for you to be here. We're going to be talking about possibly one of the most exciting, definitely one of the most disruptive technologies, possibly of this century, financial technology. I'm Ling Xueling, and I'm an executive producer at Channel News Asia, and we're very pleased to have developed this session in cooperation with the World Economic Forum. Financial technology funding, just in the first quarter of this year, has been up at close to $5 billion. Now that's reaching back up to these record levels that we've seen in 2014. More than half of that was funding for projects here in Asia, primarily here in China. But the big question is, will these unicorns really survive? And might they actually even turn a profit? And what about mainstream banking and financial institutions? Are they going to be around in the next 10 to 20 years? And on top of that also is, does financial technology really help normal people? It's supposed to be this incredible disruptive technology that's going to cut costs, but will it help ordinary people? Welcome to the panel on financial technology. So now I'm going to go around and introduce you to my very, very illustrious panel, who are going to be able to talk about pretty much all of these things that I've just mentioned. On my left here is Mr. Su Haotian, but on the other hand, I have to say Mr. seems perhaps a little bit pretentious for someone so young. He's actually the founder and CEO of Fangcheng Technologies, but he's also he's an entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur himself, and also a young venture capitalist himself as well. He's one of the World Economic Forum's global shapers as well. Moving on, Cathie Wood. Cathie Wood needs no introduction. She was investing in FinTech before it was even fashionable. She's a great thematic investor, ARK. Most of you probably already know her. Mr. Tang Ning, Credit Ease. Very, very interesting what Credit Ease does, because it is focusing on inclusive financing, a lot of SMEs, and rural farmers even, which is something that we need to remember. That's what really can be the most disruptive thing about financial technology. Chandler Guo this is perhaps fascinating even in just what he does. This is a Bitcoin miner. So when you go away, you can actually say you have actually met a Bitcoin miner. And Chandler's going to be explaining much more about what he does and what his people do. Even his staff, are very interesting because they're young graduates and upskilled farmers. They do the mining. And okay, last but absolutely not least, Travis Henriquez, who is from TransferWise. And you are almost, one could say, so to say, the most, you're the old man of this panel because you've been around doing this for quite a while by FinTech terms. He was also, for those of you who don't know, the first employee of Skype. Okay, let's kick this off with talking about where is the funding going to and why is it going there? Cathie, would you like to start?
Sure. Well, I think the reason that the funding is really taking off now is because there are 4 general purpose technology platforms evolving at the same time. So we've got mobility, we've got big data and analytics, we have blockchain, and we have machine learning. Those are 4 general purpose technology platforms that are really in their infancy, especially mobility, you might say, is not, but in the emerging market, smartphones are. So they're all taking off, and financial services is really one of the largest industries, trillions in the world, that is still offline. It might be electronified, but it hasn't been digitized. So we really are just beginning this FinTech revolution.
Mr. Tang Ning, I mean, you talk about mobility, you're right. Mobility is something that you've looked at because many of your rural farmers are actually just using mobile phones.
Yeah, that's actually very big in China. Yeah, in terms of mobile-based lending and mobile-based FinTech solutions, I think China is leading the world. And actually, going back to your question where funding goes, give you one example. When we, CreditEase, invented China's peer-to-peer marketplace lending model 10 years ago, there was no funding at all. Yeah, I was an angel investor, so I funded the company myself. And it was very quiet for 5 or even more years, yeah, until the wind came. You know, there's a Chinese saying, when the wind comes, pigs fly. So then, yeah, VCs somehow took notice, and the big money went into the market. Yeah, but VCs, in many cases, paid attention to wrong things in FinTech. They paid more attention to traffic, to eyeball. But more importantly, at least equally important, is the quality of credit quality, finance, like risk management, fundamental things in finance that investors should pay also close attention to. Yeah, so you notice recent quarters, yeah, people have also learned that. Yeah.
Haotian, as a young, venture capitalist, and what are you putting your money into? Are you looking at the quality of the investments?
Of course. I believe that outstanding business operation is very important in terms of fintech companies. Specifically, I think the quality of the data in terms of what has said, data mining and mobility has provided more quality data in terms of offline consumption market. So the quality of the data is very important. And secondly, the ecosystem, I would say, is improving in China. Specifically, there are more and more SMEs through mobile payments. They're acquiring more quality data of their business, therefore getting more credit. That's why I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of money is going into fintech in China.
Robert, what do you think? You've been recipient of a fair amount of funding. What do you think that your investors are looking at?
I think investors are really following people and companies who are providing real solutions. So we're looking at all the fintech companies moving finance from being offline to online and doing things which are cheaper, faster, and better. So investors are really seeing that there are real problems being solved and better solutions put forward to consumers. And as such, these companies are also making a great business case for themselves and having lots of sustainable business models.
Well, in these business models, is it possible to have it also inclusive, as Tang Ning has been talking about? Do you think that one of the things that you can include is this inclusiveness of who it is, who your customers are?
So I think if we're all doing things which are an order of magnitude better, so if I look at TransferWise, so we're offering a service which is 7 to 9 times cheaper than conventional banks, then I think by that fact alone, we are making it much more inclusive. And I think besides this, everything is becoming much more available on mobiles, which kind of by definition makes it much more inclusive because that's a computing platform of choice for the billions of people out there.
Well, actually, I'd love it if you would tell how you actually started TransferWise, why you got the whole idea going.
So as many good ideas, it came from a personal frustration. So during my time at Skype, I moved from Estonia, where I'm born, to London. But I was still staying on the payroll in Estonia, so every month I got my salary in Estonia, but I was spending money in London. And when I went to a bank to transfer my salary from Estonia to London, the bank said, yes, Mr. Tavet, we're happy to do it, and we'll charge you 25 euros for it. But what they forgot to tell me is that the exchange rates they use is going to be 3, 4, or 5% different to the exchange rate on the market. So the end result was that the money took 3 or 4 days to arrive. We're in the 21st century and email goes immediately. Why does my money take so long to arrive? And about 5% of it went missing. So that was the cause of my frustration, and I thought that when we were able to connect the whole world using Skype and making high-definition video calling possible from Estonia to Beijing, why can't my money move in the same way?
Okay, Chandler. Now, Chandler does something which is so interesting that I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask him to explain what it is that he does.
Yeah. I'm the angel investor of the Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum. 2 years ago, all the investment talk about Bitcoin. Today, all the venture capital talk about blockchain. And Bitcoin, right now the price is $700 for each one. And the transaction fee is 0. And I think the Bitcoin will be the future world of the money. So in the future, everyone, every country can have the Bitcoin. For example, today we talk about the Bill Gates have how much money, right? How much he got. But in the future, for example, how much your value is, how much Bitcoin you have. So the world changed too much, you know. Bitcoin already have the 8 years. It's already it's become the biggest digital currency in the world. And the blockchain technology is just a start. They have the Ethereum platform. They have a Rootstock platform. And in the future will be more and more the financial company jump to the blockchain technology. So I like invest a lot of the Bitcoin company in China. And of course, I'm the personal miner. Right now, I'm mining the Bitcoin and mining the ETH, Ethereum. And we are mining right now at the Tibet and Xinjiang and Mongolia. They inherit a lot of abundant energy. They are totally for free. They are mining at there because Bitcoin mining costs a lot of the energy every day.
Okay, so in the future, Chandler, you say that Jack Ma will no longer be assessed by how many $billion he is worth, but how many Bitcoins he's worth.
In the future, I think if the Jack Ma have 1,000 Bitcoin, he is already very rich.
Okay, now, Bitcoin and blockchain. I'm just going to throw this now to all of you people sitting here and watching this panel. Now, you mustn't lie. I'm afraid you're going to have to try and be honest, even though it is being televised. How many of you actually understand Bitcoin and blockchain at a reasonable level? Not just a skimming sort of understanding, but have a real understanding of the two technologies. Would you put up your hand if you think you can say that you really understand Bitcoin and blockchain? Okay, I would say that, well, would it be fair to say that that was about less than 10% of the people in this room? But actually, all of you are being very honest and being very correct. Because a recent study by PwC showed that of the financial professionals, these are not just ordinary people, but financial professionals asked, 80% said that they only had a moderate or less understanding of Bitcoin and blockchain. So you're completely in keeping with them. And in fact, 60% said that they didn't understand it to the degree that they felt that they weren't going to do anything about it. So Bitcoin and blockchain may be something that the panel members here have some concept of. But how are you going to convince everybody else, ranging from the persons who have to use it, ordinary people, to even financial professionals? In the financial institutions, in the stock exchanges, everything. How are you going to convince them that Bitcoin is the way ahead? Travis, what do you think?
I'm not going to convince them, because I think there's a fundamental problem here that Bitcoin has been invented because we can, but it's lacking a purpose. That's my viewpoint. That we've seen there's a lot of hype around Bitcoin. A lot of people are buying Bitcoin because they expect Bitcoin to be worth more tomorrow. So pure speculation, but I can't see a real problem Bitcoin is solving.
那么我现在就自己呢，我真的是没办法去解决这个问题，也不会跟他们去推荐。Kathy， 你怎么觉得？我们 at ARK 实际上呢，我们是有一些觉得这是一张白纸，因为这是一个现在的一个平台，区块链呐、比特币呀、然后这个区块链呢，我们认为是这些挖掘者来做的，然后呢，当然希望把这两者可以去分开来，但实际我觉得这是一个错误。现在呢，看到比特币，我们可能一直在说它的市场，现在可能是80亿或者90亿美元。那么，我觉得这其实现在不是很多，正因为这两者。我们之前看到了有一些时候呢，有高峰有低谷，所以有很多人呢都会害怕会有泡沫，尤其是作为投资者来说，我觉得有人这样想是好的。比特币之所以有意思，就是说从数学角度来讲呢，它是能够看到不会超过2100万个单元。现在可能是1500万个单元，所以有一些人呢，我们可能看到周六不是有脱欧吗？英国脱欧了，人们就会觉得，哎，有没有一些保障啊？
There's nothing mathematically metered out there in today's modern monetary policy. This is something very, very different. One of the papers we've written is Bitcoin as a separate asset class, or Bitcoin, the first of its kind in a separate asset class. Ether will be another one. So these are digital currencies. And what we've done, we have enough history now of Bitcoin to analyze this as investment managers. And we can look at the financial characteristics of Bitcoin and see that it is uncorrelated to any other asset class. That's very interesting to us. So, you know, just even if you're going to put 1% of your assets in, I mean, I certainly have, I've put more than that because I think we're at a very important time in terms of monetary policies. And you can also look at this in the emerging markets. It's, well, Brexit, but you look at Argentina, Latin America generally, they are having to resort to something like Bitcoin. Remittances, Mexico, Philippines, these talk about access and, you know, affordability. They are crying out for something like this instead of being charged 8%, to your point, 8% for every remittance. So we think there's a significant role for Bitcoin.
Robert, you don't look very convinced.
Not at all. So, you know, let's start from the end. So about remittances. So using Bitcoin for remittances is an absolutely horrible experience. You're going to have to find the Bitcoin exchange in the sending country. It'll take days to get money there. You'll pay 1% or so.
Yes.
Then transferring is the easy part. But then if I'm in Africa and I get Bitcoin, what do I do with it? I have to go find an exchange again, and I'll pay another 1%. It'll take me days. So, you know, as a simple alternative, I'm a co-founder and CEO of a company called TransferWise, which lets you send money for a very low cost, much quicker, much easier than Bitcoin. So I don't see a solution in remittances. So next...
So can I just answer that? Do you mind if we
No,
make this
absolutely,
a little
please.
interactive?
That's why
This
it's a
is
good panel.
collaborative and, you're absolutely right now. But that's because the liquidity isn't there. As we gain liquidity in Bitcoin, as Chandler said, the costs will be de minimis, right? Right now, yes, we do face the friction, and that's because it's so young. But as the liquidity grows, I think the cost will drop dramatically.
Tang Ning, you're interested in Bitcoin as well, and you're investing in Bitcoin too.
Yeah, our view is that Bitcoin blockchain is really innovative. Can be for the future. For the time being, in our productions, in our product and services, we have less innovative things like crowdfunding, like insurance tech, like robo-advisor, but we pay close attention to the future like innovation. And the way we do it is to invest in next generation FinTech models and companies. Yeah, we have a FinTech investment fund in China. Outside of China, it's a $1 billion fund doing a global FinTech investment. Actually, one of our entrepreneur partners is in the audience. Yeah, founder and CEO of a company called Circle. Yeah, doing blockchain, Bitcoin-based peer-to-peer payment solution. So,
but do you see this as part of, so to say, the high-risk end of your portfolio, of the investments you're doing, that Bitcoin is still so uncertain?
We believe it's some time. Yeah, there's still some time to build up awareness, liquidity, so on. But when we invented the peer-to-peer model 10 years ago in China, it was very quiet and not crowded at all. And people challenged us, what you were doing, you were crazy. Yeah, so I guess, Bitcoin, blockchain leaders have to be crazy for some time. Yeah.
Hao Tian, what do you think? Do you think that Bitcoin's really going to be around in 10 years, or do you think it will have fizzled out by then?
I think for anything new to become mainstream, it has to solve real social problems. But it cannot only solve the social problems in the end when it's mature. So for something like Bitcoin, I think it has to solve real social problems every step of the way when it's getting mature. So, I agree with Ms. Woods that, when it's mature, then, all the costs will go down. But at this moment, it still has to solve a lot of problems in order for it to become mature. So, yeah, that's my point.
That's a very valid point, that it should be solving problems along the way, not only when you finally reach the mother lode. So how, Chandler? I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, is this actually solving any social problems?
Yeah. Think about 10 years later, it's for Bitcoin, 10 years later, it's not too much time. But just think about the Bitcoin, the rule, every 4 years, they have a halving. Next month will be next halving. When the next halving, today one block, reward the miner the 25 Bitcoin. And after the halving will be the 12 for each block for reward the miner. So it's for a miner, it will be difficult mining for mining of 1 Bitcoin. The cost is too much to get 1 Bitcoin. It's just 8 years. So I think Bitcoin in the future is all the world GDP will be based on Bitcoin. So you tell me if you ask me what is Bitcoin value, I'll tell you the Bitcoin value is the whole world GDP value in the future. When my grandson days or my daughter day, they will coming soon. Because today my daughter don't using cash, They buy everything by the Apple Pay. They buy the game they like, right? In the future, there will be no people using cash. No people using the real money. The people using the number, digital currency, like China, the central bank. They have the idea that they want to make their digital RMB. But in the future, all around the world, the different countries have their different digital US dollar, digital RMB, right? But they need some the digital currency like Bitcoin, force the digital currency like Bitcoin to do our international transfer. And Bitcoin basically, I will answer you another question about it. You don't believe right now, but in the future, when you realize you're already late.
In terms of solving real problems, I think the elephant in the room is the 2008-9 financial crisis and people not trusting banks right now. So blockchain is a digital ledger, fully transparent, right? A lot of people who think money laundering and all of that's going to take place, the governments and the CIA and FBI are very happy that this is happening because they can trace so much. So that's why we're not hearing more Silk Roads or Mt. Gox. So Transparency gets at the fraud issue, surfacing that. Then we've got an audit trail, digital ledger audit trail. So make sure rules are based. You don't need a bunch of middlemen telling you that rules have been followed, right? So we're eliminating a lot of middlemen here. I mean, this is hundreds of billions of dollars. And then the last thing is smart contracts are automatic. Again, taking away middlemen roles. So anything with friction, any transaction with friction, you can think real estate in particular, is going to benefit. We'll see a lot of problems solved with this kind of system.
Okay, let's see whether or not Chandler and Kathy have managed to convince all of you in this last few minutes that you're all being a bit late about the Bitcoin and that you really ought to be getting on board. Okay, how many of you think that Bitcoin's going to be around the next 10 years and we're really going to be seeing digital currencies? GDP is going to be valued in Bitcoin. Okay, a quick show of hands of GDP in Bitcoin in the next 10 years. Gosh. I'm really sorry, Kathy and Chandler. Nobody believes that.
I have something to say about that. I actually have just something to say about that. I love this. When we're the first public funds in the United States to gain exposure to Bitcoin. When we put it in the fund, we had to go through the New York Stock Exchange, SEC. They were like, what are you doing? And we put it in, and the journalists basically wrote us up and said, this is just a gimmick. Frankly, that's how disruptive innovation always starts. That's all we do is focus on disruptive innovation. This is a very good sign.
Okay, so your lack of interest is a good sign. Let's move on to one of the things that Kathy mentioned, and that is fraud. One of the incredible things about financial technology is that, of course, it's changing things tremendously, but at the same time, because of, to some degree, a lack of transparency in what's actually going on in the actual processes, we're getting certain rather unpleasant fraud cases taking place. Here in China, there's been a very large fraud case as well. In the States, there's been the same thing as well. What do you think? I mean, Haotian, fraud, is that something that, financial technology will be just as vulnerable to as, let's say, conventional banks? Or do you think that there will be more transparency?
I think fraud will happen everywhere. It's common. But I think one of the future that will happen is that for the people in the industry to solve the industry problems themselves, here at FinTech Technology, what we do is that we help the landlords in commercial real estate to make better decisions, because they are the ones that actually know the businesses, the brands better, and the consumers that actually spend there better than any other banks. So it's actually very straightforward for them to actually lend the money to the businesses because they actually know the data. So that's one of the ways that I think will happen in the future in our industry, and that's one of the things that we are helping to solve is to let the SMEs offline to actually get more money from the people they're actually doing business with, which is the people that they're actually paying the rent to, the landlords. Yeah.
Robert, what do you think? Fraud. Are we going to see more of this emerging as FinTech gets bigger and bigger?
I think overall I would expect that we'll see the fraud levels go down and less fraud, but every technology in the history and even before technology, fraud has always been there. When new things come around, the fraudsters might actually be the first ones to exploit. Even if we think about bitcoins and Mt. Gox and so on, we've seen lots of fraud cases happening. So fraudsters are very innovative and they'll often be the first ones to adopt. But I think the way the world is moving, we'll probably see technology evolving faster, and overall we'll see less fraud, would be my expectation.
Tang Ning, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there are two aspects of fraud. One is like the FinTech company, the platform. Yeah, some bad guys actually doing like a fraud. Yeah, there are some cases in China past few quarters, like fraud cases, platform owners ran away, so on. So that tells us that in fintech innovation, practitioners, investors, regulators should be aware that bad guys can utilize innovative model and new technology to do bad things in a larger scale. So we should be very careful. Another aspect of fraud is actually in lending. The applicants, right, have fraud, right? So the platform will need to develop technology to identify it. And online lending, we see much more fraud than offline lending. We have like face-to-face interaction, like a big data solution to do anti-fraud. We collect more information from the consumer, but real time. We develop tools to do that. Real time doesn't compromise the consumer experience. At the same time, we constantly get the information from the cyberspace to do analytics.
So do you think, though, that fraud levels will be roughly at the same level that you see generally in the financial industry? Or are we actually going to see less, what Trovitz are arguing that basically we'll see less fraud, in fact, in fintech, because we have, as you say, all the data, we can data mine?
Actually, fintech touches upon many new areas, new segments, not well covered before by traditional financial institutions. So there's no apple-to-apple comparison in that regard. But when you allow people to do things online, you should expect that there's more fraud than doing it offline.
Are you worried about that, Kathy?
Well, always worried about fraud, but I do think that a fintech is going to be more of an answer to the problem than a cause of the problem, to agree with my colleague here. I think that if you look at artificial intelligence, big data, data analytics, the reason we're just experiencing some of the improvements now, and we are experiencing some improvements because of fintech in the United States, is because artificial intelligence is only in the last couple of years. It's been the promise for so many years, but only in the past couple of years because of NVIDIA and its software improvements in GPUs, as well as the big data coming out of social networking. That combination is very powerful in tracking down fraud. And we're starting to hear about artificial intelligence, so it's biometric is not just eyes and fingers, but it's the way you hold your phone, or there's all kinds of data. Is this really that person? All kinds of data that is going to inform that decision and prevent fraud, I think.
If we look at regulation now, because of course that's very connected to the whole idea of fraud, regulators are worried about, well, not necessarily worried, but they're definitely interested in what's happening within fintech. If we just go around the panel on a quick straw poll, do you think there's too much regulation already or too little regulation?
I think it's not about too much or little, it's about the right kind of regulation. And we're starting to see that there are some very forward-looking regulators. UK, for example, unfortunately, they might have less prominence in the future.
We're talking Brexit, yes.
But also many others, Singapore and so on, who have copied this innovative approach and really thinking about how to use regulation to force more innovation upon the industry versus protecting the rights of the incumbents.
What about you, Chandler? I mean, after all, as a Bitcoin miner, I would imagine that you would want as little regulation as possible.
Mm-hmm. In the future, Bitcoin on the miner and the blockchain, blah, 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 you can forget about that. Because in the future, everyone knows that. Today, we talk too much about this thing. But in the future, people don't need to know. People are born to know everything about this, And in the fintech, I think in the future, the tech is most very important. software is take control everything, not government, not some regular thing or I think software. We can believe the software can do it. If you want software to control, do everything, you must have a basic rule. The blockchain, the basic rule of the software take control everything, smart contract thing. So I think in the future, everyone just follow the mathematic, follow the math, follow the blockchain. Don't believe any government in the world. Even England don't believe the euro, right? So. Same.
What do you think, Tang Ning? Do you agree? This is, explosive.
In the past 10 years, China has developed some best practices in FinTech regulation, in my view. From regulators' point of view, they look for like the so-called smart regulation. Not too much, too heavy, not too little. So basically it's about downside well protected. All the key principles well articulated. At the same time, allowing technology innovation to go for the upside. From industry point of view, I think it's going to be a comprehensive regulatory framework. It's not just about like licensing a couple of rules, like defining the industry, defining innovation path. No, it's a comprehensive system, including like regulators, the media, think tanks, industry practitioners, so on. But more importantly, consumers, investors, like more and more investor education, so on. That's the right way to approach FinTech regulation.
Kathy? Yes, we're seeing, this does not just apply to FinTech, it applies to innovation generally, I think. I was just at a White House summit, a FinTech summit, and the key topic was regulation there. How do we get out of the way but have enough presence? And I think you're very right, Chandler, that there's competition among governments to attract these companies. And the UK is doing a fantastic job. In fact, at this summit, a number of the companies, American companies, basically said to the US government, we want you to go take a look at the UK government. That is the best regulatory regime right now for FinTech, we think. So I think that and I'll disagree a little bit on Bitcoin. I think regulation, when New York State started looking seriously at Bitcoin, that meant they were taking it seriously. That was hey, this is something that is real and we have to focus on it. So regulation isn't always bad.
Hao Tian, what do you think?
I think in terms of regulation, it depends on, of course, each country, how much technology regulation and financial regulation is already in place. For places that already have more mature regulations in each area, then I think there could be relatively less regulation. But in countries where are less financial and technology regulation already in place, then maybe it's an area that's need to be more looked at. But I think a good thing is currently right now is that it is a common topic for global governments to talk about the regulation in FinTech. So I think it is a good sign, which means all governments are becoming more open-minded about the regulation in FinTech. So I think that's a good sign.
Okay, now I'm going to throw this open to the floor. You can ask questions on anything, Bitcoin, blockchain, regulation, fraud, whatever. Any questions round? Somebody will actually come round to you with a microphone if you do. Do we happen to have a regulator, by the way, in the audience? Is there anyone here who's, we do have a regulator. Oh, you have a question? Oh, I beg your pardon. It's okay, not a problem. Thank you very much. Yes, your question, sir.
Yes, I'm a CFO from QNet. We're based in Hong Kong. Just a question about blockchain and digital currency, including Bitcoin. The question I'm asking because we are 100% e-commerce based, direct selling. We're starting working with Bitcoin exchanger for payment collection purpose. But when I talk to banks, a couple of banks, financial institutions, they are more interested in blockchain instead of digital currency. Because I know if your banks are already heavily invested in blockchain technology instead of digital currency. So my question is, you guys are the expert in this area. My question is, do you think blockchain going to become the disruptive force in the next 5 years instead of digital currency?
Okay. Chantal, would you like to try and start with your answer?
You know, without Bitcoin, blockchain is kind of nothing. This word talk about 2 years ago we talked about this. You know, we only like Bitcoin idea. We don't like the owning blockchain idea. But today a little different. Today we think that without the blockchain, Bitcoin is nothing. You know, people believe that this revolution. You know, what is a revolution? Revolution means somebody died. You know, right? You like you said, the bank don't agree this idea. They agree that idea. This idea, they think this idea will be die. You know, revolution means when this idea came out of the world, it's already released a monster. The monster grow up, bigger and bigger. No people can take control of that. You know, right now everyone just it's Bitcoin, it's blockchain. I have a lot of questions, but in the future, it's just every day you use. Like today you use the internet, right? Internet can cross in border, right? But the financial cannot cross in border. But Bitcoin and a blockchain thing, and easily to do the crossing the border. Even today, Hong Kong have a problem. Yeah, I know of one exchange named FinTech. Today is already moving out of the Hong Kong to go to Taipei. Even Hong Kong don't agree this idea. Okay, go to Taipei. FinTech already become biggest exchange in the world, right? So doesn't matter. Just some people. It started a little bit, but it change will be very fast. Not 5 years. I think 3 years.
Trying to decouple Bitcoin and blockchain?
Yeah, because my question, I just want to emphasize, right? What my question is, because, you know, look, you guys are expertise on this, right? Because I'm saying based on my knowledge, when I talk to financial institutions, when I talk to private equity, when I talk to banks, they're more interested in invest in blockchain technology instead of digital currency. So my question to you guys, all the experts on the table is, hey, do you think blockchain going to be the disruptive force in the next 5 years instead of digital currency? Because we all know digital currency started, right? Yeah. Digital currency started, you know, with the blockchain technology as a package. But now actually what I'm saying is all the banks, financial institutions, not all, I'm saying the one I know, they're saying, hey, I'm not going to be really invest in digital currency or open digital currency. I'm going to heavily invest in blockchain technology. So that's my question is, whether do you think the blockchain will be disruptive force instead of digital currency?
Yes. So, Travit, what do you think? Possible to decouple the two?
Absolutely possible. There's something incredibly elegant and smart about blockchain and the whole idea of a distributed ledger. And I think we will see many powerful applications over the coming years which are completely unrelated to blockchain, unrelated to Bitcoin. And we'll see a lot of places where intermediaries will be cut out, smart contracts. There's a lot of clever stuff we can do. I don't think we're seeing it yet today, but a lot of people are working on it. And over the coming years, we'll see things come to life which are built on blockchain but are not digital currencies.
Is there another question around Yes, over here, the lady over there.
Thank you. I'm Lisa Yukam, the Asia Finance editor for Reuters. You mentioned earlier, I mean, you had a reference to Britain being probably the most advanced country when it comes to regulating the fintech industry now. I mean, they voted on Friday to leave the EU, and this is going to be probably a very big headache, which is going to sort of tie them up for years. So I'm just wondering, I mean, asking to all the panelists, I mean, how has this event on Friday, how is that impacting your business, you know, your investments, you know, what's going to come out of that? Thank you.
Okay, so does Brexit actually make a difference, or do we live in Chandler's world where there are no borders and there are revolutions where people die? Okay, what do you think? Hao Tian, does Brexit make a difference to your business at FinTech Technologies?
Actually, not much has changed, I guess, because for commercial, in terms of commercial real estate, it's pretty much very focused on a specific area. So I think in the short term, yeah, not much will change, I think.
Kathy?
This is still a fluid situation. Obviously, it's a lot of people are worried if we'll end up back in a systemic situation with the periphery now, you know, and basically the European Union dissolving. So that I don't know. But I do think that what Britain has done is it's unshackled itself in a sense from sort of the suffocating bureaucracy of Europe. I mean, that would be my opinion. It's not a consensus view, I think. I think that, you know, in terms of flight to safety, I mean, it has impacted things like Bitcoin. I mean, it did impact that right away. Gold. So yes, I think people are taking out insurance policies here, and we're cognizant that we have to as well.
Yeah, our view is fintech is for the long haul. Yeah, our work, our investment is for the very long term, so not affected.
It's not going to be affected. Chandler, I'm pretty sure you don't care about Brexit.
I only believe the mathematics. I only believe the technology. I don't believe the government. I don't believe the financial company. I only believe the idea. This idea, the software world, to change the world, right? So that's why I jumped to this area. You know, it's owning. In the future, people don't want to have the dollar. You know, dollar letter just paper. In the future, for my kids, they don't like gold. They don't even know the gold. Why gold? Right? In the future, the people don't believe the gold. People don't believe the cash. Don't believe the U.S. dollar. People believe what? People believe the blockchain technology. People will believe the mathematics, because this is the credit. This is totally no people can change it when they already. The blockchain technology means that if you have a block, the block will be public to everywhere, and you never can change it. You know, and how to make the next block, you must be the mining, right? And to the ASIC or hashing to make it right, and no people can control it. The next block, all the transaction, all the economic transaction will be on this block. When they add there, no people can change it. I mean,
it's fixed.
Just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Robert, because TransferWise is actually based in the UK, so you're probably the one sort of say most qualified and where it's most relevant for you. Will it change your business?
So I think, you know, while nothing changed yet, everything is different. You know, it's very unfortunate that in a world which is becoming increasingly global and much more borderless, we're starting to see new borders be erected. So that's very unfortunate. Will it have an impact on our business? Well, we had an impact last week. We had 3 times the normal volume. People were dying to move their money both in and out of Britain. Long term, it makes Europe much less attractive as a place for entrepreneurs. You know, I do believe that countries will be competing, you know, whether it's regulation or other parts of policy, countries will be competing to attract the best companies. This means that UK loses, but also all of Europe loses. So I think it does make a pretty big difference.
Okay, so Any more questions from the floor? Yes, one more over the gentleman over there. I see we have another one here too. We can just cram these two gentlemen in.
My name is Zhang Song, and I'm from a technology company called ThoughtWorks. Because we are the partner of many large financial service institutes, so we also invest in blockchain technologies. But I got two problems. The first one is that, just like the speaker mentioned, that Bitcoin and blockchain technology consume a lot of energy. So my question is that a sustainable technology for our future? That's the first one. Another one is that because blockchain has become how can I say it, a buzzword. So a lot of technologies companies are working on that, and there are some sort of second generation of blockchain technology, which introduced something like private chain, introduced trusted third-party nodes to work around some regulation or whatever problems. So by introducing this kind of new stuff, it seems that blockchain lost its nature, its advantages in the first generation. So
okay.
I want to get some answers from the authorities.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, the question really is that because it consumes so much energy, is this really a sustainable technology? Really? I mean, or will everybody have to move to Iceland where there's, cheap energy to do any form of mining? So do you think so, Chandler? It's not sustainable in the long run. You can go off to Xinjiang and to various places where there's cheap energy, but in the end, it's going to be a problem for you.
I will answer the first question about the future, the smart contract. This thing. Who know exactly what is a smart contract? Good. Okay, not too much people know. So, the smart contract means the blockchain that before, only the Bitcoin blockchain. It's main chain, It's public chain, right? The public chain, it means all of the miners in the world to do something. To do P2P to all public. This public chain, and for example, this blockchain, this main chain, it means totally public. Everyone can do it, right? And they have a private chain. They have the unit chain. It means private chain means some company. For example, for this company, they can have their own private chain, not for public, only for your company date, Only your company can know what the chain means. Unit chain means we like six of us, we have a unit chain. We all follow this chain, follow this rule, right? Different chain have a different rule, but they can make the smart contract.
Okay, I'm really sorry, Chandler, but unfortunately I can see the blockchain is going to be probably a whole other session. So we're going to have to do a quick roundup now. I'll just pose the last question to all the panelists, and that is to say, do you think that financial technology is really going to be that incredible disruptive technology that it appears to be, so that perhaps commercial mainstream banking and financial institutions that we know now will no longer exist, much as the way that none of us probably uses a CD anymore, and a very small number are actually even using things like travel agents. So do you think that we're going to be moving in that direction for all financial institutions, that you're the future, and they're going to be gone in 10 years from now? What do you think? Hao Tian, a quick answer, please.
Instead of so purely believing in the technology itself, I believe in the market. So I believe instead of depending on how good each technology is, it depends on which technology is being used the most at that moment. So I think that's the thing that I believe in is the market itself instead of the technology.
Okay. Kathy?
Yeah, I think that, no, banks aren't going to disappear. It's a little bit like old technologies, though. I mean, the mainframe's still around, right? But I agree, there's so much inefficiency in the system right now that I think the technologies will help squeeze that out to the benefit of the end consumer. So, yes.
I think there's not too much like a disruptive. Yeah, it's more like a complementary. Like banks now, like J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, becoming FinTech companies. Yeah, and the FinTech companies helping financial institutions become more agile. Yeah, more consumer friendly, so on. So working together in partnership. Yeah.
Chandler, you're going to replace all banks?
Revolution.
Revolutions. We're back to the revolutions. Okay. Travis, what do you think?
So I think we're in a long period of transition where we'll see that, unfortunately, the banks who haven't started investing in a digital transformation won't be making it. And if we kind of think about 10 years from now, I think we'll see a world where a fair share, say 30-40% of banking will be owned by tech companies. The rest will be banks as we know it, but they've gone through a transformation to be as agile, as capital efficient as the tech companies.
Well, I'd really like to thank all of my panelists. You've been great. This is obviously going to be a topic that's going to keep boiling, revolutions. I'll just leave you with a quote from Joseph Schumpeter, who actually was the father of creative destruction, the idea of it. And he says that, why is it we never see entrepreneurs appearing just one at a time? We always see them in clusters. Well, that's because in creative destruction, entrepreneurs attract and breed other entrepreneurs. So all of the people you see here at this panel and all of you here in this room, you can count on the fact that when we hold another panel like this, in another 6 months, perhaps not even more, maybe 3 months, there will be double the number of you appearing and interested in FinTech. Thank you very much.